I am Mongo. Welcome back. This is going to be another video for the Are You Ready Facebook page and anybody else who wants to watch. Today's topic is going to be on seed banks and why I think seed banks may not be a good item for preppers. And when I say preppers, I mean the long-term preppers, the ones that are assuming that's the apocalypse, the world's going to end, and it's going to be more than 1 year of prep, 1 year of survival. It's going to be ongoing. You're on your own from here till the end of time. When I say seed bank, I'm talking about a collection of seeds carried to grow a survival garden. Survival garden can be whatever plants you want. Wouldn't make it anything out of what you normally would eat. I wouldn't be growing asparagus if you don't normally eat asparagus. Grow food that you want, that you will eat. Otherwise, you're not going to eat it. There's no point in having a garden. I'm not growing okra. I don't like okra. But the reasons why, I've got a list of 8 things to consider before planning on making a seed bank part of your prep. Number 1, is your bug out designed to be nomadic? Are you packing a bug out bag where you can grab your bug out bag and go, stay at a location for an indeterminate amount of time and then pack up and move on to another one as you deplete the resources there, or just to stay mobile so you can't be tracked and people can't find you? A garden requires you to quite literally put down roots. You have to. Once you plant the garden, you need to stay there. You can't go venturing off too far. You need to be local to that garden. So if you're going to be a nomadic type of bug out situation, seed bank won't work for you. Number 2, everybody plans on bugging out into the mountains or the woods. They want to go someplace where they can get away. A garden requires open, cleared land with plenty of sunshine. You're not going to find that up in the mountains. You're not going to find that deep in the woods. You need a field. You need at least a quarter, third acre of open to the sun where you can get sunlight and grow your garden. The third thing to consider is the soil where you're going to bug out have adequate nutrients to grow a garden. Most topsoil is insufficient to grow a good garden. You just can't dig a hole, plant a seed, and it's not, expected to grow. Not all topsoil is the same. So you have to consider what your soil is. If you're in sandy or extremely clay-ridden soil, it's not going to be a good place for a survival garden. Number 4, is there a good water source? Plants require water. We have, where I'm at, we've had a bad drought through the fall, the summer, and if you don't have an alternate water source, if you're not by a stream or a river somewhere where you can bucket water up and water your garden would not have survived this summer. You have to have a water source. So if you're bugging out, again, into the mountains and you're not near a mountain stream with a clearing, with good soil and no water, you're not going to have a garden. Number 5, I've watched a lot of people's videos on their ultimate bug out bags, and this is the greatest bug out bag in the world, and oh, I've got this, that, and the other, and I have a seed bank in my bug out bag. Congratulations, you've got a seed bank. I don't see a hoe, I don't see a rake, I don't see any other type of gardening tools. You have seeds. Congratulations. You're going to eat them like popcorn. You're going to have to grow the garden, you're going to have to plant the garden, you're going to have to rake the surface weeds away, cut down get the weeds broken down somehow. You can burn them off, that's fine. You can do a little clear cut burn to get the weeds off. Then you have to rake off the remnants so you don't get weeds. You're gonna have to be able to till the soil, so you're gonna need at least a heavy rake or a hoe so you can till the soil, get some aeration in the soil. But I don't see any of these tools in the person's bug out bag. Hey, I've got seeds but no way to plant them. Good job. Number 6, have you ever grown a garden before? Do you have any idea what to do? Kind of important. If you don't know how to grow crops, if you don't have the knowledge or the skill set to grow a garden, what's the point of carrying seeds? You're not going to be able to have a good harvest, if any. You might get a few plants off it, but it'd be an extreme waste of time to try to tend a garden that's not going to grow when you can be devoting your time, which is a resource, when you're in a survival situation, or in this case, sustainable living, when you're trying to live day to day off of what you have and what you can get. If you're wasting your time on a garden, that time can be spent hunting or scavenging for wild edibles, things like that that you can go get. because it will take less skill. Well, I shouldn't say skill for hunting. It still requires skill. But if you can't grow a garden, it's not really a ideal situation to carry seeds. Do you know how to collect seeds? This is number 7. Do you know how to collect seeds from your current crop and store them properly so you can plant them again next year? If you have a handful of seeds that you get in your seed bank and you go ahead and you plant your garden and you have a successful garden, you get plants, you fed yourself for a year, you've used your seeds, what about the next year? And the year after that, and the year after that? You need to be able to plant your garden and get seeds back from that garden so you can properly store them for the next season. If you don't know how to do that, your seed bank is a 1-year deal, unless you're going to carry around 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 years worth of seeds on you, which will start to end up taking up space, and chances are they could, over a long period of time, you could lose some of your seeds and then you're done. And last but not least, a good garden you're going to get plenty of crops out of. How do you plan on preserving your harvest for the months ahead? Are you going to carry hundreds of mason jars with you? That takes up a lot of room and a lot of space. I haven't seen any bug out bags with a pressure canner and mason jars. Are you going to dehydrate in the field? Maybe. Can you do it without a lot of your crop going to waste and rotting? No, you're going to have a lot of waste without a commercial type hydrator that plugs in and uses a fan to draw the moist air away and leave dry air behind. Even in sun drying, you still got to have air movement. You can smoke dry, or at least a hothouse, semi-hot house dry some foods as well. But in the long run, you're going to have a lot of food waste if you plan on just dehydrating. Root cellars are a good option. Dig a hole in the ground that's, in a cool, shaded, semi-dry area, and that's good for roots, potatoes, carrots, onions. That's a staple of mine. I could live off that alone, but it's not the perfect solution. You're still going to have rot. It's still not going to probably not hold your the crops from harvest to the next time you can actually harvest them. You're going to have a couple months of where the food does not last. So those are the 8 concerns that I have with carrying seeds or having seeds for a long-term prep. Bugging out versus bugging in. Yes, you can have a seed bank if you plan on bugging in and you've got property that you're going to bug in at that you can grow a garden. I would suggest not leaving the ground barren. I would suggest working it now, or now, tomorrow, the next day, the next year, 5 years from now. If shit doesn't hit the fans, I would still be working that garden, or not the garden, at least the soil, laying down compost, working compost, and making sure that when it comes time to harvest or to plant your seeds, that you've got a good working soil base. So bugging in is great. You can have the resources. If you're bugged in close enough to a river where even if the city water system goes down, you'll be able to bring buckets of water up, or rain barrels that you can collect water in, which is fine off of a house, off your gutters. You can have rain barrels supported and use that to collect water to water your crops. So bugging in is not an issue with a seed garden, but you still have to plan ahead. And what I would consider good ideas for planning ahead is, I'm going to do it this year. I have not had a garden in many, many years. This year I've decided I'm going to do some container gardening right here at my house. Small things. I'm just going to have maybe 10 containers. I'm going to do a couple tomato plants. I'm going to do a couple potato plants, maybe some onions, some fall garlic, just because I like garlic when I cook anyway. But I'm going to grow plants that are something that are in most people's staple diet. See if I can even grow them. And then I'm going to see if I can actually collect those seeds and use them again the next year. And if I can continue this process, I may only have a garden for 3 years right now, just so I know that I can do it, that I've got the skills, I've got the resources, I've got the tools and the knowledge to have that garden. So I'm going to go ahead and practice now. I'm also going to start preserving, try canning potatoes and try canning carrots and green beans and whatever other vegetables that my girlfriend and I can agree on, because she's kind of a finicky eater. We have to both be on the same page as far as what we're going to eat. So we have to have an idea of what to plant, how to preserve it. Most likely, for this location, it's prepping in, so it's going to be canned. Get the mason jars and all that. My bug out location is actually at another location where I can have a garden. where I've got land to actually plant if need be. Um, I've got provisions to rocket stove to use a pressure canner on, so I can still can once I get to that location. I'll be able to store, there's actually a building there, there's a place for me to store my mason jars and all my food once it's preserved. I'll have the room to do that even at my bug out location. So if I have to leave here where I can bug in just quite comfortably, and if I have to leave here for whatever reason and go to this other remote location, I still have the tools that I need to preserve the food. I'll have the land, I can have tools stored there. I'll be working the soil, I'll be getting compost, leaves and manure and grass clippings, get compost going to make sure that that soil is ready at that location while I'm working on my garden here to make sure that I've got the skills. If you want to have the idea of a seed bank, it's not a bad idea. It's not a good idea if you don't know how to use it. It's not a good idea if you don't have the tools and the location and the right land to actually have a seed bank, because or have a survival garden. Because if you're counting on that as a prep item, you're counting on your survival garden to survive off of, and you can't pull it off, what are you going to do? It leaves you in a bad situation. So practice now. Do some gardening at your house. It can be fun. It doesn't take but a couple hours a week. Once you get it started, you get a good, you get the benefit of having fresh grown quality foods that you don't have to pay for at the grocery store, because you can just pick it off the vine and eat it. Preserving food is something you have to learn. Not everybody's going to be able to pick up on pressure canning. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but if you want to preserve your food for a longer term situation, it's something you're going to have to look into. You can freeze food, but grid down situation, you lose your freezer. If you lose your freezer in the summertime, you lose your food. So that just doesn't make any sense to plan on that for a long term preserving situation. So think about those 8 things that I discussed to decide if you want to do a survival bank or a seed bank for your survival kit. If you have the skills, the location, and tools, yes, it's a good idea. If you don't, it doesn't take up much room, but it's not going to help you in the long run. Don't count on it. Don't bank on it. Look for other sources for food in your survival situation. All right, y'all, check my Facebook page out. It's called Are You Ready? Join up. It really hasn't taken off yet, but you're more than welcome to go there, leave comments, get a discussion back and forth. I don't generally check the comments on my YouTube videos that often. Haven't had a lot yet. This one I'm sure is going to spark some people arguing back and forth that I'm right or I'm wrong, and that's fine. But if you want to also talk about this and discuss this, add to my ideas, maybe give me some pointers on what a survival garden can be, I'm more than open to get other people's opinions. So either you can leave comments here, I may or may not see them, or go over to Are You Ready on Facebook. You're going to have to ask to join over there. We can go back and forth in open forum or even in PM if you don't want to have your information out there. I know some people who are prepping don't like discussing anything on public forums, which is fine. It's actually a good thing. But join the discussion, give me some ideas, and we'll work back and forth. Maybe I can help you on something too. All right, have a good day.